So, I watched. I ended up on, and I confused it as with a comedy. I don't know. I thought it had some sort of comedy. I mean, if anything, it was dark, but no, mostly a drama. Apparently, it's labeled as a drama. It's called Ask Me Anything, and somehow I kind of forgot the usual AMAs on the internet, and it's quite a common sort of acronym, isn't it? But I completely forgot that in the movie. So what it is about is very strange. And obviously it's quite a wild tale about a promiscuous person. Uh, very from my understanding, it's fiction. Although somehow I'm not sure why they did that at the end there, which made it seem like it's not fiction. But I mean, I guess normally if it isn't fiction, then they would say in some sort of notice, and they didn't seem to say that. So I don't know why they did it. Oh, they switched characters at the end. I'm not sure why. That didn't give the impression that somehow they're showing real people or something. I thought maybe they hired actors to switch to make people think. I mean, it's really weird. Why would they do that anyway? I don't think it is real, or there would be some trivia on it that says so. But somehow, yeah. Anyway, it's strange. It's obviously full of sex. She really wants to have sex with absolutely everyone, and it's incredible. Um, yeah. One of those things. Not quite to the extent that she ends up having sex with a pie. That's quite something else. But I guess if people can get a partner, then they'll get one. If they don't, if they cannot, then they get a pie. But anyway, it's a strange one because it was an interesting sort of thing. I mean, obviously, it's just a movie about promiscuity mainly, but she seemed to somehow um, say something more other than simply promiscuity. She seemed to be hinting at something else, something more than just boredom that leads to that and such. I mean, I noticed the music was given some sort of prize, and yeah, I liked that very much. The music was quite soft and such, and didn't quite sort of fit with a movie where there's constant sex. But this is why it sort of worked, I guess. That I seem to think that there was something other than that because of the music. I don't know, maybe because there really was. I mean, otherwise it would have been like some sort of. I mean, it's almost like some sort of sex comedy if it didn't have the dark undertones. It wasn't really a comedy ultimately, I guess. It was still there was some sort of dark sort of humor to it, but not really. Still at the same time. So anyway, yeah, just yeah, that's the thing. The one bit where it seems somewhat funny is when she kept asking her mother, that whether her dad is dead yet and such. That's a bit dark, yeah, but one of those things, and she asked her twice, So yeah, that's sort of really, but ultimately still drama, I suppose. Uh, yeah, another one thought, sort of dark comedy, I suppose. I don't know, maybe just I didn't really get why it happened, but yeah, every time she had sex, it's actually she was going back into her past, and I don't know, she was having hallucinations almost seemed like some sort of uh, drug trip where she had sex just to have those in the first place. It's really strange. I didn't think people hallucinated while having sex, but there we go. Yeah, so it's not an uninteresting movie, shall we say? It's kind of a monorail sort of thing, where she just simply has sex with absolutely everyone, gets a few people away and such, and then somehow. But uh, I don't know. It was still interesting in a way, not the most interesting thing ever, but interesting, just barely. It's certainly more interesting and more serious, I guess, than the likes of American Pie and such. But in terms of drama. I thought it was interesting because it's sort of it's sort of a mundane tale, and yet it's still a sort of romp in a way, but it's still mundane drama there on the same, and serious and yet sort of whimsical because of all the sex. So it sort of combines a lot of these contradictory things. And it did say at one point that people are contradictions, and that's another sort of dark humor as well, I suppose. How uh, that guy read the letter that the older man gave her, and he was very negative, about everything, love doesn't exist, it's just very, the world is very dark and such, and very pessimistic. And the last thing he read, at least, that wasn't related to sex at all, but the guy just suddenly said, yeah, he wants to have sex with you. I'm not funny, but I didn't know how he came to that conclusion. But I guess, I don't know, maybe you could see the whole picture or something. I mean, yeah, love was mentioned, but I think it was the only time it was mentioned, and there were like 10 sentences, 10 points on the list. So, not entirely sure, you could just conclude after reading 10 points that somehow that this one point is really the whole picture, yeah? Whole pictures are normally derived from that, like that. But anyway, um, but yeah, it was interesting, I suppose. I mean, yeah, the guy wasn't treated too badly. I mean, wasn't treated well, actually. Wasn't. That's what I meant to say. Like you said, I mean, maybe calling her a monster is a bit too much, but not calling him after talking to him. I mean, obviously she only went to him because she was alone, absolutely didn't have anyone else near and such, so really felt very edge. But she should have called again. You cannot just talk to people and then just not talk to them again, and then maybe talk to them again when you want and such. So in that sense, then she seemed to feel that. She said that might have been hormones and such. So it's a strange tale, shall we say? Um, yeah, it's almost like I mean, if it had any other tone, it could be a comedy, but it didn't. It's still a drama. Obviously, the way it ended was very much of a drama, no comedy at all. As I said, and ended very, very confusingly. I don't know why. I suppose it could also be a commentary on social media, but it's more of a background character, I suppose, sort of a background noise, kind of like those comments at the beginning and in the middle and such, where they're shown but only summarily. So I mean, it's not really. I mean, obviously the title is a reference to social media, but it's not really there in the foreground. I mean, many people who rely extensively on social media generally have much less of a life than she did. I mean, I'm not sure you could call it a life, but she did go out, shall we say. She even took a mask with her for Halloween. That was a weird jog there. Um, but yeah, uh, otherwise it is sort of interesting, but not really at the same time. I don't know, just I mean, what else can you conclude about social media, for example? Right, the fact that um, well, she was obviously only highly visited because of you didn't quite make clear whether she showed herself, how she looked online or not, or whether she just described herself and people use their imagination to see her per se. Because some comments did imply that they could see her, but was never made obvious that she published any photos. She said she wanted to remain anonymous as well, and publish photos unless there's someone else, that obviously will remain. I mean, I guess you could change the name, but it's yeah, it is quite confusing, especially at the end. As I said, I don't know why they changed the name although it does work, I suppose, in this sense. So yes, it was confusing at the end because of the name change for some reason. I mean, it's not like they really wanted to change the name, obviously. If, it's not one of those where you're interviewing someone who really needs to keep their name hidden, and you never actually reveal it. This is a movie where it was supposedly revealed at the end. But this wasn't really. I mean, this was fictional. It seems, the name they gave at the end there. I don't think there's really anyone with that name, and I think just very didn't research very much, but I think there's someone else anyway with it, unless it is her, but I doubt it. Um, but well, still, I mean, even just as a fictional film, I mean, it doesn't need to be real, obviously. It's, I don't know why it would need to be real. It's just whatever it is, really. Um, but yeah, otherwise, um, it was interesting, shall we say? But I mean, it is also, in a way, a commentary on loneliness, I suppose. I mean, she had a lot of partners, some friends as well, although not many, it seems. Mostly professional relationships and not her parents, obviously. But other than that, I mean, I don't know. You know, having sex with your boss isn't exactly the most non-lonely thing to do. I mean, it's essentially a lonely thing, isn't it? What's the point? And as she said herself, if these relationships go sour, you'd lose your job as well. So what's the point of having them in the first place? Um, yeah. Um, but otherwise, it was still interesting in a way. It's what's curious is how much or less this movie made in terms of the box office earnings. Yeah, it was made on a budget of nearly a million. It got barely 50,000. It seems really not much at all. I had never seen Britt Robinson before. Don't know who she is, but there we go. First movie. But she's associated with Disney, which is a bit of a weird thing considering how non-Disney this is. I don't know, just one of those things. But yeah, I don't think though this so-called Amy Grantham really exists. Yeah, I'll just double check, but it's difficult to know anyway because there's an actress and a writer with the name. So um, but yeah, I think from the little research I did so far, it's fiction. I think I could say so. Um, it's a weird thing that they did at the end. Just yeah, that's really pretty much it. But yeah, other people did the same thing. Yeah, so, why can't I find any information on her and such? Well, because it's fiction. It's obviously a fiction. Probably there's a sequel. I might watch it if I can find it. I don't know why girl was spelled with a Y, but there we go. Also, Alison Burnett. I didn't know that the males could be called Alison. I mean, I didn't know that. I really didn't. I really thought it was a female who wrote this, but yeah. So yeah, was someone who. Oh, never mind. People are asking indeed whether she's a real person or not, but don't know what this says here. Other people movies.com. What kind of title is that? There's a retrospective. The letters I receive and still receive from readers are filled with this passionate love of Katie and desperate need to know where she is. Many people misunderstand the movie and think the whole thing is a true story. Reminds me of Italians restless lonely hearts. All these people yearning for some answer. They are desperate for answers of a mere work of fiction. I mean, can you imagine early generation when you say, son, I'm begging to know how Holden turned out? Oh, really? I haven't actually seen that, or read that book, but come on, he's obviously tried to hint at the end, especially that this might be real. I mean, it's his fault, really. Most other fictional movies end without some sort of nonsense about real names being revealed and characters changing their faces. I think he intended to just trick people. I did. New hundreds of new teenage girls. Hmm. Well, anyway, I'll possibly read this, but it's kind of interesting still. But whatever. One of those, I guess. That guy that played the bookstore owner is in so many movies and series. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So that's it. I guess I don't know. Just loads of sex with serious drama. Didn't think that was possible. I mean, American Pie has loads of sex, but not quite serious at all. I guess these sort of movies do exist after all. What a revelation. Well, anyway, yeah. It was interesting, but not too much. I suppose interesting as a sociological experiment. Aye, Burnett. Yeah, I guess that's what he was trying to do at the end there, especially. Huh. I guess whatever.